welcome. We are coming to you live from Newegg Studios in Southern California. This is Newegg Now. I'm Trisha Hirschberger.
I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell. Newegg Now is the place to be each and every week, 10 a.m. Pacific time. We're here. You should be here because we bring you the info you need about tech, PC hardware, and of course gaming. And we have interviews, experts, special guests, new product debuts, plenty of hot limited time deals on all that kit.
And also this Panther.
Also Panther.
From Shadow of the Tomb Raider. There was an event that some of the folks from Newegg went to, and they brought back this Panther and this candle from Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
It's like they fit together.
They kind of do. I don't think that they're meant to. I think we just did that.
No, I'm pretty sure that's a fire hazard.
But guys, wherever you're watching this, make sure that you watch along on newegg.com/newegg-now so that you can see all of today's deals, and just remember that they will only stick around while supplies last through the end of the day today. So if you check back in 24 hours, you might be too late, and then the deals will all be gone.
No bueno. So we've got a really big show.
Yeah,
they actually wrote really big show. And
really big show.
A really big show. 3 huge names, different parts of the PC gaming world. First up, we're going to be joined by Intel to take a look at their brand new 905p Optane SSD. After that, we're going to be geeking out to some audio, Creative Labs about the world of PC gaming as it pertains to audio.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Corsair is back in the studio to show off their new IQ RGB software.
So it's going to be a ton of fun, and let's just jump in and kick things off, right?
Yeah,
by taking a quick look at a couple of the deals that are on that Newegg Now page. So if you're in the market for a new AMD CPU, you can pick up a Ryzen 5 1500X for just $144.99 with the promo code on that page. You're saving about $15 off the normal price there. And then we also have a compatible AMD motherboard from Asus, the ROG Crosshair 6 Hero. Now, this board has all the quality features that you've come to expect from Asus boards, including automatic overclocking and AuraSync RGB lighting features, all for just $169 today after a $35 mail-in rebate.
Very good. Yeah. So check out all the deals on newegg.com/Newegg now to get a preview of the rest of the show. All the stuff we're going to be talking about. So we'll have Creative and Corsair with us a little bit later, but coming up right now, I think we have to. First up, talking about the new stuff, Intel's new 905p Optane SSD. Let's check out some video.
Welcome back to Newegg Now. We know that our Newegg fans out there are all about the newest, most cutting-edge hardware, and it doesn't get much newer than Intel's Optane technology. We talked about it before on the show, and now Intel is back with the 905p Optane SSD, which was just officially unveiled yesterday. Here to tell us all about what the newest Optane drive can do for you, we have Ace Stryker from Intel. Welcome, Ace.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm psyched to be here. This is where the magic happens, so it's a privilege.
True story.
Sometimes. So to start things off, what do you do with Intel?
I'm a solution architect at Intel, and I work specifically in the storage and memory group within Intel. So I work with customers and end users, focusing on the Optane products to help them determine, hey, what are the right products and configurations to make the most of this new technology, help them to want to evaluate it and really find the value of the new technology.
Nice. Okay, so we've talked to Optane before on the show, but just as a primer, get people sort of up to speed. someone who might not be familiar with Optane, what is it? What does it do? And what's special about an Optane SSD versus just a normal solid-state drive?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a new technology, and the fundamental difference is the memory media that's inside of it. So if you look at most SSDs on the market today, and this has been the way for a while now, it uses NAND media inside. And that's also true of a lot of the SSDs that Intel makes, by the way. We have NAND SSDs as well. But Optane uses a new memory media inside the SSD called 3D XPoint. The physics of that are different, and there's a couple advantages to it. It's what we call bit addressable. If you're writing things and moving things around in NAND, you typically have to do it in big blocks of data, and there's management around that, and there's sort of a performance cost to doing that. Since you're working on the bit level with Optane, you can get better performance out of that, and that really shows up in a couple of ways. Super low latency is one way where Optane's really strong relative to NAND. Also, random read-write performance is really good. And particularly at low queue depths, which is where we see most of the real-world workloads. So Optane really is kind of engineered to shine in those areas where folks are actually working and playing and using their storage.
Nice. So how would you describe the difference between Optane memory and Optane storage?
It's a couple different applications of the same 3D XPoint media, right? So the SSD is pretty straightforward. It's a drive that you'd put in your system, perhaps in place of a NAND drive, or perhaps if you're looking at some of our products, you might use one as a boot drive, and you might have a storage volume. But it's blazing fast storage, right? The memory module is a smaller capacity, and it's in an M.2 form factor. Those come in 16 and 32 gigs right now. And what those are meant to do is to be paired with slower storage, either hard disk drives or SATA SSDs, and to act as a cache accelerator. So as you use it, the system actually views the hard drive plus the memory module as one volume. But as you use it, the memory module is sort of learning what files you're accessing most often and caching those so that you get access much faster. And so the goal with that technology is sort of, you can get high capacities with a lower sort of total cost of ownership with a hard disk drive or a SATA drive plus Optane versus just a big capacity.
Right. And so because one of the areas when we were talking about Optane in the past was that this was a step above just some of the other hybrid solutions that other manufacturers had come up with for, just creating a cache. But this was more sort of an aggressive learning algorithm as to how the computer was, or resources on the computer were being utilized.
Yeah. So it's got algorithms in there that are trying to understand what are the things that users are doing most frequently. What are the things? Where are the performance constraints due to storage, right? And it's trying to sort of optimize your experience around that, and to bring those things into and put them on the Optane drive, where it's going to be much faster than HDD or SATA drive alone.
Right on.
So for people who are new to Optane technology, can you talk about the Optane SSDs that you've already released before the new model?
Yeah, sure. So first on the scene was the memory module early last year, and then we had the 900P, which has been kind of our flagship, which came out toward the end of last year. That's a product that came in a couple different, still comes, not past tense, in a couple different form factors. You had a 2.5-inch form factor with a 280 gig capacity, and then you had the add-in card, this kind of guy here, at a 280 or 480 gig capacity. Earlier this year, we launched the 800P, which is the first M.2 Optane drive meant to be used as a storage device, right, as opposed to memory modules. And that comes in either 58 or 118 gig capacities as well. So as we kind of get the technology out there into the market, you start to see a product family growing, right? And the idea is to provide solutions and products that are going to work for different customers who are looking to do different things with it.
And so what you announced, what you released yesterday, what you're here to talk about today, moving up to the 905P is another step in that platform, in that product family that you were describing. What sets this apart from some of the previous Optane solutions? Who are you targeting?
Sure.
With 905?
So the 905 kind of represents the next step for Intel with this Optane technology, right? And really, we're just getting started with Optane. I mean, it's a technology with a ton of potential, right? You know, we saw some good response from the market and from the press to the 900p, but we also heard a lot from our customers and from folks about what they'd like to see from Optane. One of those things was bigger capacities, right? And so the 905 offers that. The 905 comes in the 2.5-inch form factor here in 480 gigs, so that's about twice what the 900p offers. And then the add-in card here comes in 960 gigs, so again, about twice what the 900p in the same form factor, right? And so that's one difference. Another one is we're using, the technology is maturing, right? And so what you see in the 905p is a media that's higher performance inside, and we've been able to get a little more performance out of that, do some firmware tweaks.
Nice.
And so you'll see, if you look at the specs in terms of reads and writes, you know, you'll see an improvement over the 900p there as well. Operating temperature is higher now. Instead of 0 to 70 on the 900p, it's 0 to 85. So if you've got an environment where you need extended temp, that's an option for you as well.
So just again, how this might differ from traditional solid-state drives, there's a general notion that if you double the capacity of an SSD, if you double the capacity of NAND, that you see that performance bump because of how those things work in parallel. Is there a similar equivalent, like moving up to these larger storage capacities? Is this why we're seeing the advantage, or is 3D XPoint different in how the technology is utilized? So now we're just seeing process advantages over capacity advantages.
Yeah, it's a good question. And one of the unique things about Optane is that you'll see performance that's consistent across the drives. For example, the 905p. You don't necessarily suffer performance penalties because you're using a smaller capacity, right? You're going to see consistency there, and it's also going to have other differences in terms of how it performs over time. The endurance on these things is you know, crazy high. That's one of the things we're really proud of. So if you've got workloads where that is a requirement, then these ought to be, you know, very interesting. But you know, sort of independent of the age of the drive or how full the drive is or what the capacity is, you're going to get like consistent great performance from Optane regardless.
Nice.
So you were mentioning the various form factors before. Which form factor has been more popular with the previous drives, and do you have a reason why you think that might be?
That's a good question. I don't know categorically if there's a standout in terms of what's been popular. I mean, if you look at what's existed, with the 900p, you had, if you wanted a 2.5-inch, you had 280 gigs, right? If you wanted to go bigger, you had to go to the add-in card. And so that may have affected some folks' purchasing decisions. If you wanted the M.2, you know, you have the 800p, right? And so to an extent, you know, your capacity will drive your form factor decision, right? Or vice versa. What the 905p does now is it enables higher capacities, gives folks more flexibility in terms of what's actually going to work in their configurations and what they want to choose with a wider variety of capacities and form factors to choose from.
Now, when we were talking about the 900p on the show previously, we spent a ton of time talking about what that drive offered PC gamers. So from a slightly different perspective, what makes the 905p appealing for more workstation-focused builds?
Yeah, sure, and certainly the drive, you know, it's got advantages for gamers as well, right? And we can talk about those. But on the workstation side, that was where we heard a lot from our customers about capacity and about, hey, we love the performance that we're getting from Optane drives. We love the low latency, especially if we've got, you know, mixed workloads. Yeah. If we're doing a lot of random read writes, if we're doing a lot of reading and writing at the same time. These are things that you see kind of in a workstation a lot. Really kind of positive reaction there and good reception. But a lot of those systems require a lot of storage as well, right? And so, you know, the 960 gigabyte add-in card is really, you know, that fills that gap that existed in the product line before.
I mean, it's funny, we're in a market, like we're talking about terabyte capacities as if like NVD.
Right, yeah.
Just like a couple of years ago, like.
DGAF is a new one I heard.
We had a little chat pre-show talking about some of our favorite
little inside jokes.
PG ways to swear. So, so we're talking about new technologies, a new process, different optimization or different focus for what we can accomplish with storage. This has to color the conversation from Intel's perspective on things like benchmarks. When we were talking about 900p, there seemed to be a different focus for how to rate the performance on these products versus how we've traditionally talked about storage in the past. How does the 905p differ in those areas, or how does it exceed or improve upon the way that we've looked at storage performance in the past?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think anytime you've got a disruptive technology, whether we're talking about computer storage or anything else, you know,
this is changing the conversation from like when we had spinning disks to when we went to NAND.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we completely changed like benchmarking. Benchmarking had to follow that evolution to now. Same thing from Intel's perspective. I mean, you guys have to be looking at this stuff internally and saying like, we have a focus here, and old, you can run it at home benchmark suites aren't necessarily going to reflect what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, exactly. And some of our favorite kind of press quotes that have come out that when we have these outlets that are benchmarking these drives and reviewing them. There was one, and I forget the outlet, but
name them. Come on.
It's taken all the fun out of benchmarking an SSD. Was essentially the quote when they were testing one of our drives, because the latency is so low and the performance is so high that it's difficult to characterize with conventional benchmarks. And so a big focus on Intel's part, and then part of my job, is to help folks understand how these things perform with real-world workloads, because that's where this is designed, right? It's designed, and if you run a benchmark, you may not be getting the right look at a low queue depth, where we know like 80% of real-world workloads happen, or things like that. And so, my job is to find software partners to help us tell that story, right? And to evaluate and say, hey, actually put this in a system where you're doing work, and tell us what kind of difference you're getting. Tell us either where you were sitting around waiting for things to load or tasks to complete before, and you're not anymore. Things like that. And so we've had a couple great partners recently that have helped us evaluate some of our newer hardware. If we're talking about the workstation kind of environment, Side Effects is one partner that they make a program called Houdini. It's for rendering effects, and it's big in the entertainment industry and increasingly in gaming as well. So that's an example where they render these scenes that have just really, really intensive, right? There's the test they ran with us, one of them, was a 7-second kind of rendering of like a maelstrom or a whirlpool kind of thing in the ocean with like 1 billion plus particles in it. To render that sucker on a top performing NAND drive took 17 hours for a 7-second video clip. And with Optane, it was 6 hours. So you see quite a big difference.
Yeah.
But I saw in the benchmark there was only like a 2% difference in extended queue depth performance.
That's why.
So NBD.
That's why we hope folks will look beyond the benchmark. I mean, benchmarks are useful to an extent, and especially if you pick ones that are good at simulating real life
what you're
workloads.
working on. Yeah.
So Spec WPC is one that's big if you're kind of evaluating workstations, and we've done a lot of testing there. They kind of simulate workloads that are aligned with different segments. So they'll do like a life sciences workload and an entertainment and media workload. And there we see, 3x, 4x improvement.
But it also seems that
NAND.
like a part of this conversation, especially from when we were talking about 900p, is that the full benefit of this can't be realized until you've spent a little time working on it to kind of get Optane primed for your workload specifically. Like, you give this to me for a week as a reviewer, and I plug it into a system and I run a bunch of synths and then say, oh, it did this, this, and this, and this. Like, I haven't even scratched the surface of what Optane has learned about my work behavior.
Yeah. And what you're describing is really exactly why I have a job at Intel.
Well, we knew we called the right guy to come and talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, if you swap out a NAND drive for an Optane drive today, just one for the other, you're going to see a performance improvement, right? It's a very high-performing drive. It's great. But the nature of hardware innovation is such that software innovation has to also happen to fully kind of enable the power of the hardware, right? And so a lot of the applications that you might run today or written with kind of memory management that accounts for older, slower storage, right? And so one of my parts of my job is to go out, work with some of these software vendors, these developers, and say, hey, how can we actually optimize the way the software is written to kind of fully unlock the potential here, and to take the kind of the benefit you'd get from just a swap and really like kind of tune it to make the most of the new hardware and kind of enable for, you know, what we consider to be kind of the computing architecture of the future.
Right. Now, earlier we had mentioned when we were talking, you know, we said the 905P is great for workstation builds, whereas the 900P was great. We talked about that, the benefits of that for gaming builds. And you said, well, it's great for gaming builds too, but let's get to that later. Let's make now that later.
Yeah.
So tell me how gamers and enthusiasts can also benefit from the 905P.
Sure. Well, one is the blinky lights here, right? That's something that
it's like the most important part. Like we're gonna have this all over the show.
I hesitate to say it's the most important thing that we've done with the 905P, but it is something that we heard from customers that they'd like to see, right?
Okay.
And so I've got this cycling on a fun kind of. You can pick from the 3 colors. This is just something we cooked up for fun to kind of show off what that looks like. You know, the performance improvements over the other Optane products and frankly over the NAND products, those are going to matter to gamers as well. Mm-hmm. The capacity matters. You know, if you've got a huge Steam library and your habit is to have a lot of games stored locally, you're going to want all of those on fast storage, right? And so, yeah, absolutely, you know, we think this is a great product for gamers as well. And you know, since the launch yesterday, you know, couple reviews are starting to come out, couple sort of press items, really favorable response to this. Do you guys want me to name outlets here, or is that?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so Tom's Hardware, right? Their full review I think is still forthcoming, but their write-up yesterday, based on their preliminary testing, called it the fastest SSD ever. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that the actual term, words they used were by a wide margin. And you can, you know, I encourage folks to go look at that and see. And you know, that's going to matter for gamers as well, right? And that includes some of the more recent kind of offerings by competitors as well.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff, whether you're playing on it or working on it, it's going to kind of make life more fun for anybody.
Take a step up.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So it's doing well, you would say.
We're excited, and we're just getting started with Optane. You know, like these products we're super psyched about, and there's a lot of value in these. But you know, as we go out there and, you know, we learn more about the technology and we get more sophisticated and capable in our technology and our manufacturing, I mean, you can expect to see a lot from Intel, you know, to come on the Optane front, because it's just, this thing's got huge potential.
Awesome. Well, Ace, thank you so much for stopping by and telling us all about the 905P. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. It's been great to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. So, folks at home, if you like what you've heard about the 905P, make sure that you check it out right now on the top of that Newegg.com/NewEggNow page. Now, this is a brand new product, and you can be among the first to pick one up if you order one right now. Both different form factors are on that page, so you can find the one that's right for you.
So that's going to do it for Intel today, our Intel discussion. Optane, good times, but stay right where you are, because we'll be right back talking about gaming audio with Creative Labs. Now, PC audio is a subject near and dear to my heart.
Sure is.
I'm a recording nerd. And anyone who knows anything about PC audio knows the name Sound Blaster.
True story.
True story. I think many of us, especially my age demo, probably went through numerous Sound Blaster and Audigy cards and some really good times there.
Yeah.
So Creative has been making that audio hardware since 1987.
Woo.
and the Sound Blaster has a long, proud history in the PC gaming world. These days, Creative has a wide variety of audio products you can find on Newegg. Here to talk to us about the very latest from the company, we're joined by Ryan Schleeper. Caught it. Almost stuck the landing. It's great. From Creative. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Little hop. It's okay.
And you're joining me on a flat cap.
Yeah, man. I saw
Excellent.
you wearing yours, and I was like, you know what? I have
the
mine.
memo.
I have to rep
I'm
as well.
so out of the loop.
No, we need to get you one
didn't
next
know.
time. Next
Okay.
time we'll make it a triumvirate.
Next
Well, here, I'll just, because you brought one along, I'll just put this in front of her.
Oh, there you
and
go.
We'll just do
There you
that
go.
right there. And
She's
Perfect.
perfect. Okay,
There
we're
you
all
go.
hat pals.
Not adjusted
Yeah.
at all. But yes.
So just to start us off, and because we ask this, we start off every conversation this way. What is your title? What do you do at
That's
Creative
a
Labs?
good question. So technically, I'm the product marketing manager, but I pretty much act as liaison between the community. So I do manage our products marketing-wise in the U.S., but I also serve as a conduit to the engineering team. There's some brand work in there. I kind of have the tribal knowledge, if you will. I've been with the company for quite some time. It's been 16 years. So, it's I like the forward face because I get to, interface like we were talking earlier and getting feedback from the crew in here too. So, but yeah, my technical title is product marketing
There was
manager.
a little flurry of Newegg
Yes.
Ninja.
There was.
activity.
They swarmed in. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? But nobody smoke bombed me, so it's all good, man.
Yeah,
It's all good.
yeah. We've been trying to keep that to a minimum.
Yeah,
these days,
awesome.
so.
Sweet.
So when looking at the modern PC hardware landscape, how do you see Creative positioned there, and what are your specialties?
So we've been at it for 30 years, right? And we're actually celebrating 30 years. We have some pretty big tricks up our sleeve coming up in the back half of the year to celebrate that. So with 30 years of experience, you have a lot of patents and you have a lot of expertise. And right now, what we're doing is we're taking all of that and we're saying, you know what, we're not really interested in making Me Too's. We're not really interested in rehashing. We're really trying to find unique things for the space. So like with the K3 Plus, like with the AE5, like with the Katana, we're really innovating and our ability to take our platform, which is our chip. We have our chip, our SBX1 chipset that we can deploy in multiple places. That gives us a distinct technical advantage because we're the only audio processor on the market.
Right.
Everybody else is codec based and they're using your host, your CPU. We actually are able to do it in standalone devices and tweak it and change it. And so there's a performance benefit, but then there's also all of that expertise and kind of the imagination of our engineers to leverage that. And it's what we do. Audio is just our thing.
Right, and before we jump into those products, I was hoping you could expand. I'm so happy you started off talking about that. Trying to express some of those distinct differences between the built-in audio solutions that a lot of gamers and streamers have built into motherboards or into some of the other products that they might buy that plug in via USB versus the focus that Creative brings to the table on some of these more forward-facing audio tech.
Yeah, it's a challenge, right? I always kind of push my buddies at NVIDIA and AMD and say, you guys have it easy, because it's very easy to say, hey, picture A, picture B, picture B's prettier, go buy this.
Right, exactly.
Picture B has more texture fill rate, and picture B has X, Y, and Z, and there's a clear performance number advantage there, and tech heads like me appreciate that, right?
Yeah.
So when you're talking about audio and you're talking about conveying that, it's experiential. And that's the trick, is marketing audio. You really have to get out in front of people. And some of the best times that I have are when I'm out there and I'm at a trade show, and like at a BlizzCon or whatever, and then somebody has been playing on their motherboard audio forever. They've been playing WoW for 9 years, right? Seriously, they've been playing it since day one. They come to a trade show, they hear our systems, and they go, holy crap, I had no idea that torch made a sound. I had no idea that there's more than 5 sounds occurring at the same time. And that's when you go, okay, we got something, we're still unique. But conveying that with numbers and whatnot, it's harder to do. So for us, it's about getting in front of people. And now in the world that we live in, with all the streamers and all the people that are conveying, they experience it and they're able to pass that experience on to their people and their followers. And they go, guys, no, really, this is the real deal. I did not think I needed this.
Right.
A and B, and a bunch of the streamers are like, I don't really use a sound card. I use a USB headset or I use whatever. I said, well, just use it and let me know what you think.
Just try.
Yeah, just try it. And then they go, I have this awesome USB headset that I'm not going to use anymore because the difference is A and B, and it really is quality difference, amps, DACs, all of that makes a huge difference. Being an audio
and
guy,
I'm sure you've also had the crestfallen experience of like, I couldn't hear any difference, and then you see them pull out like dime store earbuds.
Yes,
and you're like,
yeah.
oh,
They're like,
no.
let me pull out my free Samsung, whatever's, or
Right.
and that's the other challenge too, is because you're only going to be as good as the delivery mechanism.
Yeah.
What drives me nuts is I see a lot of people going out there buying really expensive headphones now.
Yeah.
And then they're driving it with motherboard audio, and it's like, okay, so you now have a crazy chassis of a sports car with the engine of a Volkswagen Bug. Like that's really what you're looking at.
Yeah. Well, and I'm still having conversations with people about like, just look at the resistance, like look at those ohms.
Yeah.
At least start looking at some of that stuff before you go and.
Sound is math.
Yeah.
It's all just math, man. So
Beautiful, beautiful math.
for sure.
So you had brought up that gaming is now in this world of streamers and people creating content. What can you tell us about the product that you have in front of you?
So the K3 Plus is right there. Yeah. So this product actually started off in Asia. So our Asia, office made this because the karaoke scene in China is crazy. Like, I'm talking crazy. If you think audiophiles in this country are nuts, you should see some of the conversations in forum threads about reverb qualities and stuff. People get super hyper crazy about karaoke. And we could have brought this product over in the US. We knew we had a hit over there. And when we looked at the product, we said, you know what? We could make some tweaks to it and make it completely ideal for multiple markets in the United States and worldwide. So this bad boy, the K3 Plus, is a combination amp, DAC, and mixer.
Okay.
And designed for streamers or for musicians. It's really a drop-down plug-in interface. And when we were talking to people, going back to the USB side of things, a lot of the streamers now are looking to raise their game up. Step up to a studio environment. Hey, I want to use this microphone, but it's XLR only. And we noticed a trend there. And we said, okay, we got something with the mixing board here. We added a few features to it, like the soundboard that's built onto it. One of our streamers, NVC, he was playing Fortnite the other night, and he's playing it, and he's got the applause track and the laugh track and stuff that we built into the board. Press the button, and it fires it off over your stream, so it's like you have a live studio audience. And we thought that was just something we could throw in to make it fun. But you got XLR connectivity, so you could plug it in. You have phantom power, so if you want to use a condenser mic or whatever mic you're going to use, we're going to be able to let you use it there. The killer feature of it is it also works completely standalone with mobile devices. So you can actually take a USB battery pack, plug it in here, take your smartphone or your tablet, whatever it is, use that as your recording device and have a full-blown studio quality recording session just with this. And for people out in the field, that's awesome. I'm a brass player, and I can't tell you how many times I've been like playing on the corner with the New Orleans style funk band or whatever, and we're like, oh man, we really wish we would have had that live recording, not just on somebody's phone, but like a real recording. You can do that type of stuff. So for podcasters, the functionality is all there. You have the ability to separate monitors. It's the only device on the market that's USB powered that powers 2 headphones at the same time. So if you're doing a solo and you have a producer that's working with you, both of you can be hearing live what's going on. Or if you're doing a duo thing, both of you have your own feed. You can both adjust your monitors, built-in reverb.
Like watching the podcasting environment on this has kind of exploded too. And I want to point this out, because we talked about this a little bit before. I hadn't even considered the math on power.
Yeah.
The power draw from USB and then converting that into
48 volt.
Phantom power. That's no small feat.
It's no small feat if you want to do it clean.
Right,
you can throw in whatever you want and have it be dirty power.
You don't mind it just sounds super noisy.
Yeah,
you can gain that all day.
Totally, and that's where our engineering comes into play. There are a lot of devices out there that can do that, but if you want to do it clean and you want to do it with no signal noise and no line noise, you really need the expertise on the fabrication side and the design circuitry design side, which is what we've hung our hat on for decades now. So, yeah. So
you mentioned using this to, say, record to a phone. Can you walk me through what that would look like from, say, like a mobile vlogging perspective?
Yeah, sure. So let's say you're out and you're like, hey, we're out in the field and we're going to just man on the street, woman on the street thing, whatever. You have this with you. you have a USB power pack plugged into it, you have your microphones plugged into it, and you would use, your whatever you're using to record on your device, you'd plug it in. It's just a simple 4-pole jack connection. Okay. So you'd go straight from your phone out, your phone headphone jack or connector if you're an Apple user, out from that into this, and it's as simple as that. It's really just meant to be brain dead, no drivers. Oh. It's completely self-contained. And that was one of the other goals of this was, we don't care if you're Mac, PC, Samsung, Android, right. Mac OS, whatever. We are completely platform agnostic. This is do what you want to do, record how you want to record with the hardware. It's all about the hardware and making it easy to do. And then we have, for the singer side, we have Auto-Tune. So if you want to get your T-Pain on, you can get your T-Pain on. My daughter laughs at me when I try to do that because she's actually pretty good at it. She's got a great voice. Me, not so much.
Well, I was just happy you went T-Pain.
That's why I play brass. I don't sing. And then reverbs. We have 9 different types of reverbs and reverb levels, so you can go all the way from just a simple room, or a plate, generic plate, all the way up to cavernous. I'm swinging in a mountain, inside of a mountain or a stadium. So nice. All of that's built in. No drivers, no nothing. You can do it all there.
And again, because we're looking at this from sort of a USB audio interface perspective too.
Yeah.
That we're not limited by microphones anymore.
No,
I'm kind of getting back to the point you made about the difference in video.
Yeah.
Like we've been watching production values on game streams
up and up.
skyrocket, but it still seems that like that audio conversation almost takes a generational cycle.
It does.
Like the early streamers not necessarily understanding some of the advantages. Like I come from an old school recording background.
Yeah.
Like I learned when we still cut tape.
Yeah, me too.
so like I wouldn't invest in anything unless I could use studio grade mics with those kinds of XLR interfaces and stuff. Now, and we kind of have them on the table sort of illustratively, but microphones that people start out with USB, but still have the ability to switch over into an XLR.
Up. Yeah.
That being the gateway drug into getting into
and the way I've likened it, the way I've been talking to about people is it's like water cooling, right? On the PC side, water cooling before used to be this big mysterious, oh my god, and now you have the all-in-one coolers, right? You plug those in, you're good to go. You're water cooled. You step up, you start getting into your own custom loops, and you start getting into your own things. You can do really interesting things, and your look of your PC and everything rises. This is going to change your audio production, and at a great price point. I mean, it's $129 normally, and so when people hear the price point, they're like, "Oh man, I get an amp, a DAC, and a mixer all in one." And it does serve as a great amp or DAC. And one of the other things for the podcasters. And streamers is we have a voiceover function. So the voiceover function, you click that on, and what happens is basically if you can stream your games at full volume, the second your voice comes over it, the background gets suppressed and your voice is clear in the channel. So you don't need to worry about keeping your volume level low, because that's what I hate about my daughter's Minecraft videos is she's like turns up the volume so that she can hear the people doing stuff. Oh, Dad, there's a creeper over there or whatever. And then all of a sudden this crazy British guy is screaming at the top of his lungs in my house, and I'm like, turn your speakers down.
I can't tell you like how many hoops I've jumped through to get ducking.
Yeah, exactly.
Into my kit.
Yes.
It's not easy.
And this does it automatically. So we're pretty stoked about it. And you could chain 4 of them together. There's a lot of thought put into this product, and this is from us, like I said, interfacing with everybody, going out, talking to streamers, talking to pro gamers, talking to musicians, and saying, what would you want in a device if you had your choice to pick what you'd want. And there's still things we're planning on doing moving forward, like customizing the soundboard and some of the other suggestions. Because we have the ability to change our firmware and we have engineering, this isn't just a fire and forget product. We're going to keep improving it as we go along.
So yeah, in something like an XSplit or an OBS, there's very, very basic software solutions to try to mix your audio on some level. But it sounds like this has so many bells and whistles far, far beyond that, between the voiceover, the reverb, the auto-tune, depending what you're doing. Are there any other special features you haven't listed at this point that you're going to hit me with right now?
I think I covered everything. We got the line in, we got the line out, we got pretty much everything covered. And on that front, taking software out of the mix is always great, right? Because software is running on something else. This is hardware. It's not going to fail you. It's just going to be
or have latency issues.
Yeah, exactly. 0 latency. You can chain 4 of these together and have no latency.
That was the last thing I hoped you could expand on a little bit more, because I haven't worked with daisy chaining audio interfaces since everything was on FireWire.
Yeah.
And that was great. I mean, you could just sit there and you didn't have this master-slave relationship. Everything's serialized really easily. And this being a USB box, I thought your solution was actually pretty novel.
Yeah.
If you could describe what that.
Well, it's
that
just
looks
elegant.
like.
We're just connecting one to the other through the mobile port, which is optimized for interfacing because we have to optimize it because we're pushing out to something in real time. And when the engineers looked at it, they said, hey, you know, we could just have it recognized when it's hooked to another unit, and we'll just serialize it down the line like that, you know, push it down the line and maintain, because we have an audio processor built inside of it, because we have custom circuitry built inside of it, we tested in up to 4 units, it's no latency. When you start, you can keep going down the line, you're gonna start introducing more latency at that point. So if you're not doing anything in real time and you're just looking to have, you know, 16 channels and you want to have 8 of these connected, you could. But 4 we think is going to serve most people's purposes. Although, you know, if anybody wants to prove me wrong, by all means, you know, go buy that many units and prove me wrong.
Well, but it, like how ridiculously exciting it is that a digital problem that USB introduces totally solved with this analog single cable.
And that's the beauty of it, right? As long as you have clean signal, you're good to go. And you can only get away with that as if you're pushing out clean signal as well. And that's what the box is doing.
So that's the K3.
Yep.
You already mentioned it has a great price point to launch at.
Better price point today.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys are hooking us up. So now on Newegg Now, you go to that Newegg Now promo page, only $99 with a promo code. You'll find that there.
We haven't done that
crazy.
anywhere else.
That's right.
Crazy.
We're only done it with Newegg.
Because we're awesome.
You are awesome.
No, I'm really stoked about that. But there are some other things that we wanna talk to you about also while we've got you here. We had a little chat about this. I'd like to get your perspective on the air. The traditional in PC, the old school notion of the sound card. What happened there? Why you feel maybe they're not as common as they might be for system builders? Like we're talking
lots of opinions on this.
Well, yeah, we talk about all these different things, and we just had Intel on, you know, like different like memory and storage improving chips that plug into M.2, and yet this is an area where a lot of consumers started drifting away from that being a part of the build inside their box. Why do you think that is?
So I think it really started, and we discussed this earlier, it started when Windows and Microsoft ripped the heart of...
That was going to be my follow-up, yes.
Direct audio, when they pulled a, Mola ROM and pulled the heart out of Windows audio. I hope you got that. I hope you're laughing. Okay. When they pulled that and they pulled the heart out and laughed at everybody who loved audio, it started kind of a downwards trend for audio in Windows in general, because a lot of the hooks and everything that game devs were using to push audio to a new level were gone at that point. And so what we had to do is kind of rework, okay, it was no longer a hardware-centric model, it's going to be software and we'll have to enhance that. And then there became this kind of general malaise of the audience saying, oh, well, free is good enough. Motherboard audio is good enough. And good enough kind of became, as people focused on incredibly expensive sound cards and, storage was really expensive at that time, memory was really expensive. People deprioritized the audio because they got good enough on the motherboard. And so there's a whole generation of gamers and enthusiasts that were in that world and that lost the experience that was before. Now, the people that were building during our time, we get it. We used it. We're like, no way, it's not good enough. And again, goes back to, is it experiential or not? But there's a whole subset of the people, probably people on the stream right now saying, yeah, sound cards are BS. They don't know. I mean, and that's the thing is, I always just say, okay, really, let's do an A/B and you tell me what's better. Even with expensive motherboards, with built-in, really good motherboard solutions, including ours, taking that circuitry away and putting it into an external card is always an order of magnitude better, because you're getting off the circuitry of the PCI, you're going PCI, you're getting off the motherboard circuitry. No matter how much isolation you do, you cannot isolate as much as physically taking it off.
Physically isolating it.
Exactly. And so the experience was lost. And also for a long time, there was kind of a malaise in general with game developers with audio. They were looking at audio as secondary, but now that we have things like VR coming to light, and now we have things like wide rounded monitors where audio is suddenly becoming more and more immersive as our field of vision becomes bigger and bigger. It's seeing there's a lot of developers now going, hey, how can we work with you guys to make audio better? How can we raise that level up? Because competition is also fierce. So audio is not being ignored as much now.
Even down to the biology of it.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking about all these improvements in like the newest generation of VR headsets.
Yep.
I'm super sensitive motion sickness
Yeah.
for even like a nice monitor
Well, and a
setup.
lot of people don't recognize on that front. That is most of the time not a visual thing. Most of the time, and God, man, I'm so glad you mentioned that. That's one of the things that we looked at in the studies. People say, "Oh, I feel sick," and the majority of that is caused from audio cues being incorrect with the eyes. So your brain gets completely confused because it should be seeing audio coming from these places, but it's not. It's coming from a stereo source, and so your brain gets this separation and it causes nausea. And that's one of the things where you have Google and you have other companies out there that are looking at how can we rectify this with really accurate positional audio, because that's going to solve this nausea problem for a good subset of people.
Well, I've been really trying to play with 360-degree video.
Yeah.
And it is extremely disorienting when you've got essentially like a mono audio track coming off of this consumer camera.
Yep.
This great, like, oh yeah, I can look all around,
Yeah.
but there's a huge disconnect in that experience.
We're wired as humans, hardwired to have that audio and visual connection, and we don't even appreciate how complex that is with timing and arrival times of ears. And a lot of our patents that we have, with HRTFs, head-related transfer functions, is all about arrival times to ears. Getting those to be as accurate as possible and having that happen in real time is one of the advantages we have. Going back to, we have it on a processor that doesn't have to route out to a CPU, then route back through. So we're able to minimize those latencies and actually make a lot more accurate of a soundscape in those situations. Yeah.
Nice. Fascinating. Okay, so on that Newegg Now deals page, we have the Creative Sound Blaster X sound card.
Yep, the A5.
Yeah, what should people know about that specifically?
The A5 has been out for a while. It is a super rock solid card. We just released new drivers, I think today or yesterday, for the new Windows update that's blowing everything up. The biggest thing on this one is it's a lighting control thing. Again, we wanted to add customization for people, and has our audio processor built onto it. I know we're strapped for time, but the headphones on this, we have what's called X-Amp. That's the big thing. And what we do is we channel the left and right ear cups separately, which gives you incredible audio, because let's say you have something that's hard on the left or hard on the right, one channel doesn't get overpowered. And so when people listen to this, the things that we've heard is it's just buttery smooth. It's just buttery smooth audio.
Right.
Tons of other features you can look on the site, but it's an awesome card. This was a long time in the making for us because we knew we wanted to come to market with something special.
So also on that deals page, we've got a special discount on the Katana soundbar. And this is something that I hope you can kind of talk us through a little bit too. As monitors have gotten wider, and I still rock a dual monitor setup, but now my monitors have gotten so large in that dual monitor setup that my near fields are almost like behind me.
Yep, they're like your center. They're your center channels now, or they're your side channels now.
Yeah, they're not, and there's no good way for me to mount that. Talk us through Katana and what Creative is trying to do.
So going back to what I said originally, we're making products that solve problems of today's desktops. We're not thinking back in the 90s. We're not even thinking in the 2000s. We're thinking in the 10s now, right? And the Katana solves that problem of desk space. Some people don't even have that big of a desk space, so they don't even have room to put 2.1s. And when you see people taking 2.1 monitors and sticking them on their sides just so they could fit, and then their monitor's this high above their head, and their audio monitors are here. They have,
Does it make you sad when speakers become stands for screens?
As an audio guy, I'm like, no, what are you doing? And especially when speaker configuration matters too, right?
Yeah.
So for us, we said, okay, what's the problem? The problem is 2.1 being pushed out. What can we do? We have a small space on the ideal monitor thing, and we have the Sonic Carrier, which is our $4,000 soundbar. It's the beast. And we did a lot of investment in chambering and micro speakers in that particular product. We're able to take a lot of that expertise and wedge it into the Katana. So you have this thin soundbar with RGB lighting that sits underneath your desktop, but the thing blows your face off. In fact, we had to change the audio curve on it because it's so powerful, and it's 150 watts right there.
Right in your face. Yeah.
We had to change our audio curve so that it's more of a slope up versus a straight diagonal because we were going to volume level 5, and it was like, I can't go any higher than this because it's so, it's in my noggin. So it's really about slim form factor, tons of power, spatialization of audio, the speakers are angled. There's all kinds of details, and I know we don't have a lot of time to go into it, but it's a killer product. It's been doing very, very well. Tons of high reviews on it. So we're stoked about that. And again, what can we do to make the desktop better?
Right.
And because we love audio, we want people to love audio. So our mission and my mission, is to make people experience it and see it in a different light, because it shouldn't be secondary, man. As a musician, as an audio guy, it breaks my heart when people, say audio is good enough. Nah, it's not. Never
It's
is.
not.
Never is.
Good enough never is.
Yeah,
Dude,
exactly.
you have succeeded. Like, just hearing you guys talk about all of this, I'm like, you're awakening my inner audiophile. I need to up my
the
game
goal.
now.
You do.
Yeah, you do.
So thank you for that inspiration, and thank you
problem.
for coming by to talk to us today.
Yeah,
This
this
was
was awesome.
excellent.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
So make sure you visit newegg.com/Newegg now for great prices on 3 awesome creative audio products today only. You can get that Sound Blaster K3 Plus for just $99.
So nice.
$30 off the normal price.
Yeah.
You can also pick up the Sound Blaster X sound card for just $119.99. Also $30 off the regular price.
Mm-hmm.
And the Katana wireless RGB soundbar is just $239. That's $60 off what you would normally pay for it. Newegg.com/Newegg now. Get the promo codes and step up your audio game. I will be proud of you.
I need that katana, so I really hope it doesn't sell out before the end of the show,
might
before
be
I get a
picking
chance
that
to
up
get
too.
there, right? We sell ourselves things all the time. Guys, we've got a big finish to the show coming up next, so make sure that you stay tuned for our talk with Corsair and a celebration of all things RGB. Welcome back, everyone. You may have noticed this oh so subtle build next to us throughout the show.
Very simple, not flashy.
Yeah, the one that's lit up like the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis, localized entirely within our studio.
Definitely encouraging me to have a meal of steamed hams next to the light. Or was it Leo was saying, it's like a family of rainbow unicorns living there.
Beautiful.
Hypnotizing. It's gorgeous.
It is hypnotizing. Nobody quite does RGB like our next guests, Corsair. You might know them from their excellent mice and keyboards, but they started off making RAM and have a full line of components, including power supplies, coolers, and just about everything other than GPUs and motherboards.
Yeah, when Corsair does a light show, they do it up in a big way. So here, to talk to us all about what Corsair's got is their product manager, James Cow. Welcome, James.
Thank you. It's great being here.
So again, just to kick off the conversation, tell us a little bit about what you do with Corsair.
Great. So what I do here at Corsair is I am the project manager for our greatest software, IQ, the greatest RGB software in the world.
Yeah.
And what I do is basically I am in charge of helping our team light up their awesome devices that they all spend a lot of time making. And really, what I also do is I listen to what customers want and I make it a reality.
Nice.
That's a pretty sweet job.
That's a fun job.
It's fantastic. Every day is an exciting one.
That's
Okay,
excellent.
so I have a ton of questions that I want to get to about lighting, but first, let's please talk about this build. It's absolutely gorgeous. What can you tell us about this build?
Awesome. So I'm glad you like it. So this is our latest 460X white case. It's housing a Ryzen system. And what you see surrounded is one of our coolest hardware that we've released lately, which is the H150i Pro, which uses 3 different fans to cool your system down. It's also lighted up by our LL fans, which have 16 LEDs each. It has our light strips, it's connected to our Commander Pro, and it looks beautiful because we always like to, spend our very best time promoting the best aesthetics you can provide in the system.
Right on.
And it is all powered by our brand new IQ platform.
Very nice.
Excellent. That's gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
So obviously, one of the coolest things about this build, because this is amazing lighting, we really do need to get into IQ. First of all, I like the Not the pun, but the sound. It's ICUE.
IQ.
You're queuing up your lighting.
Exactly,
But it's also it's
exactly.
pretty smart. So can you talk us what's new about the IQ?
Sure, no
system?
problem. I can go into a little bit. So when we first released our RGB keyboards 4 years ago, we introduced the world to RGB lighting. And on the other half of our company, we also offered a software called Link in the past, which was mostly about system monitoring. So with one software, you had full customization of all our peripherals. You can do all types of macros, you can do all types of lighting. But on the other half, we had a software that was mostly just system reporting. It monitors your temperatures, it controls your fans. What IQ does is we take both software, we listen to the complaints of our customers who didn't like having two platforms running simultaneously, and we bridged them together. So now for the very first time, and as the only company that's capable of doing so, we can now offer all the functionality of what happens inside the system to work with everything that's outside your system. So now you can customize your lighting and have it all simultaneously work together. You can monitor all of your system information on our main screen right here through what we call the dashboard. You can control your macros, change your audio profiles, all with a click of a button, while at the same time make sure that your power supply is working efficiently and customize any of our products in any way you want.
Nice.
Very cool. Can we actually get a demo of that? Can we throw that up on screen to
Sure,
take a
no
look
problem.
at that software and see how it works?
Yeah.
Sure, so I can start with the home screen first. So what we have on our home screen here that you can see is that this is all of our devices that are currently being connected. As you collect more and more Corsair swag and as you connect them, it's going to light up here on the screen to show you that it's working. And what we are allowing users to do is you can go into any of these devices simply by clicking on the panel. And here we have the keyboard playing a lighting animation. But we also have features like showing the coolers with the lighting. Here's some of the performance systems that we are offering for fan control. And really, everything that you've been able to do in the past with our hardware, whether it's customizing the fans, customizing the macros on the keyboard or on a mouse, we've taken nothing away. All we've done is we made it more simpler. We want users to be able to download something after you purchase your hard-earned, you spend your hard-earned money buying our products, and we want you to be able to go in there and play with it right away. We have features like instant lighting where with a simple click of a button, everything can light up red. You can see in this example, I'm lighting everything up with just one click that you can customize in any color you want. In addition to, if you don't like what we have for these simple effects, you can go into the keyboard, for example, and then when you bring up the lighting effects, right now I have 4 effects playing. So what we can do unique in IQ that nobody else can do is that we can not only allow you to set a pattern like what you're seeing here where all the lighting is working together, you can actually expand as many effects as you want. So in this example, I am increasing the number of visor animations playing. I can allow you to create more rainbows than a unicorn can barf out.
That is intense.
I'm glad you like it.
That's
and then finally,
fantastic.
for the people who always complain about our software taking too many resources, what we can also do is we also have something called IQ Space, where if you minimize the software, you bring up this little side panel right here, we can bring up the system information on your desktop without maximizing the screen, which means you get the same capabilities of what I showed you earlier of fine-tuning all of your products. But it doesn't use up as many resources because we've minimized the impact it has on your system so that you can game without affecting your frame rates. You can game without worrying about our software using up resources that you could otherwise spend on
and also minimizing, you don't have 2 separate control software packages
Exactly,
running at the same
exactly.
time. So automatically that cuts your resources in half.
Exactly.
So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about some of the struggles of lighting across peripherals and components.
Sure,
Because like all these things having to work together, getting a headset to sync to a mouse is one thing.
All
but
peripherals or all components.
Exactly, and then
peripherals and components.
working that in keyboard and fan and RAM. So how is it that you guys are addressing that? With your
Sure,
platform?
that's a good question. So it is actually quite a challenge it's actually very easy to link off the USB devices that are outside the system, right? Because we all use the same hardware. The groundwork started with the keyboard, right? We knew how to perfect RGB lighting through the hardware we implemented in the keyboard. So when we are developing new products to work together, we want to make sure that it matches the same type of hardware specifications we laid out for what we designed with the keyboard. So some of the challenge we have to do is how do you take something that costs $200 with all these cool, brilliant lighting, minimize it and introduce in products that may not cost as much.
Right.
So what we do is we, first of all, we have to ensure that it does everything that a keyboard can do, because the keyboard is the most visual product on your desk. It does the most type of lighting effects. So that's the first requirement. And the second requirement is we always have to make sure that whatever latest technology is available, how can we shrink it? How can we make it better? And that's the ongoing struggle we have as we release more and more products, not just for what you see here, but as an ongoing quest to light up the world and light up every product that we can release.
Well, and just so because for people watching, what keyboard is that?
This is a K95 Platinum. It uses Cherry MX speed switches for the fastest game experience you can offer.
Awesome.
I feel like you need like finger guns with a lot of these one-liners. So what products are compatible with iCUE?
So iCUE is based off of our former Q platform. So every RGB peripheral and every RGB product that you've had since we released Q is compatible with iCUE. Okay. What we offered as an expansion to that is all of our new coolers, all of our existing coolers, our digital power supplies, your Line Note Pro, your Commander Pro, the strips, and all of our RGB fans are now all supported. Nice. So what that means is even if you had something that used to use our former software, you can actually now introduce it into the ecosystem. You can uninstall the old software, install iCUE, and you can have all the lighting work together. Some of our hardware may not have the same capabilities as our newest ones, but as we continue to expand our portfolio, we're going to make sure that as long as you have lighting, iCUE will be able to control in ways you can never imagine.
That's awesome.
Talking about expanding that portfolio, what products will be compatible going forward?
Well, we can't comment on stuff we haven't announced.
but there has been an interesting conversation. Again, I don't want to put you too much on the spot here too, but you know, we're in the PC building space. I like building workstations. You like building gaming rigs. Our audience kind of follows us with a lot of that too. And there has been some conversation about, you know, we keep saying the PC's dead, and then it keeps coming back in more amazing ways than ever before. And there's just been this notion of where can the PC maybe fit into the greater overall, like, home lifestyle. You know, we're trying to replicate some of the things that you guys are already doing in an amazing way here, like what this case is showing off now. But we're trying to maybe it's a smart speaker that becomes the brain of the operation, or maybe it's a smartphone that becomes the brain of the operation. Does Corsair see themselves in a way fulfilling that expanded home automation or lifestyle discussion?
Yeah, we do. So one of the things that we've been able to understand through the application of RGB is it's not just blinky lights. What we are trying to instill as a philosophy for all of our products moving forward is that it's how to use lighting with a purpose. Right. One of the examples you brought was the living room, and that's where you see ambient lighting being a really big part of it. So with RGB customization, we don't see people just having random rainbows go off on and on. What we want to be able to allow the users to do is maybe if you're watching a movie, you can turn off all the lighting. And that's what we can do with iCUE. You can also maybe set ambient lighting to match the mood. And we see applications like Philips Hue that's really growing up in popularity. And that's something we really want to work with, so that, you know, from the desk that's in front of you or from a keyboard in front of you, maybe we can allow iCUE to remotely turn off the lights or change the color, whatever it is you like. So those are kind of examples that we're exploring, but we do understand that, you know, lighting can work in many applications, and we're going to do our best to make sure that we have a solution for everything out there.
Awesome. So a few weeks ago, we got a chance to play Far Cry 5 on the show, and it was fun, even though it didn't go exactly according to plan. But we got a really good look at some of the lighting features that you've integrated with that game. I think we have some footage we can show everyone while you tell us about it. So yeah, please tell us a little bit about that integration.
So no problem. So Far Cry 5 was one of the first efforts that we've done to expand lighting. Our gaming team reached out to Ubisoft and did a really great job of working together with them. What Far Cry 5 presents as a platform for us is that we were able to use lighting, as you can see on the screen, to really work in ways that no one can ever imagine. When the other competitors started doing lighting with gaming synchronization, it was very focused on the keyboard. But as most gamers would tell you, the keyboard's the last thing you want to look at when you're gaming on screen. So what we decided to do with iCUE's potential of connecting everything with lighting together was that we create these really cool lighting effects that work in-game, but they work beyond the keyboard. You have the case that's setting up the lighting. When you're playing the game, you're on fire, everything glows orange. It's all about the ambience that the environment can provide for you when you're using all of our products together. So Far Cry 5 was one of the first steps that we did to prove to everyone that RGB lighting with gaming can work and not just be restricted to one hardware in the ecosystem.
Are there any other integrations that you have coming out that you can talk about?
Nothing today, but given the
I
popularity
mean, I
of
saw
how
the
far-
smile, so.
So something, just nothing we can talk about.
Right. I can tell you that Far Cry 5 has been a huge hit. A lot of people saw what we were doing, and doors have opened now from other developers who
New
weren't really sold.
conversations.
Exactly. Because everyone's so restricted to just this one device
Right.
working. But now we've proven to everyone that you can do way more than just simple lighting.
Yeah,
on a
it's not
keyboard.
particularly impressive that you've lit up my WASD keys when I know where those are.
Exactly. And you have on-screen displays to help you with all the other information as well. But to have a case glowing like this when you're gaming and react to everything that's happening on screen is something that a lot of people outside the industry have now finally taken interest in.
So where do you see the future of RGB going?
Well, the future is bright.
Again, finger guns.
Gotta wear shades.
So you can see that from all of the presenters today and many of our competitors out there. RGB is going to be here to stay. And RGB is not just about rainbows. RGB is about the freedom of choice. You can create anything your imagination limits you to. But really, what we're going to see as a trend is that as more and more people introduce RGB to products that never had lighting before, it's really to allow the user to customize things in ways that they've never done. We see cars doing RGB lighting now with ambience. And we're going to take that philosophy, hopefully us as a company, we're going to be the leaders in showing people what you can do with lighting. And like I said, the future is very bright.
I was gonna say, was that like a hint? Or are we gonna see a Corsair car module coming out soon?
I never say anything of the sort.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming in to talk to us
My
today.
pleasure.
Again, we've been having so much fun with Corsair products in the past and some of these builds
to hear it.
that you've been sending our way. So we hope you'll be on soon when you have some of these exciting,
Yes.
bright,
Watch out for
futuristic
Computex.
devices.
I'm sure we'll have many
Oh,
surprises.
I love it.
There you
Excellent.
go.
That's
Watch
exactly
out
what I
for
wanted to
Computex.
get.
We'll see you there.
Great.
All
so
right.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
What a
So
gorgeous build.
I know, I really like this build. So if you want to grab some Corsair swag to trick out your own build, you're in luck because there are a ton of Corsair deals on Newegg.com/Newegg now today at this very moment. We've got the Corsair Hydro Series H110i water liquid CPU cooler for $15 off, or 16 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance RGB DDR4 RAM for $29 off.
And you can pick up the Corsair Obsidian 500D aluminum/tempered glass ATX computer case for $50 off. I think we have one to show off here where James was
just a moment
few
ago.
seconds ago.
Look
Thank
at that
you.
beauty.
Look at that. Yeah.
That's pretty. So, and if you're looking at the peripherals, we definitely hear you there
Yeah.
too. You can pick up a new Corsair gaming keyboard right now, and we've got plenty of options to choose from. You can check out the K70 Lux mechanical keyboard with cherry red switches, or the Strafe RGB with brown switches, and each of those are $20 off.
Or if you prefer the K70 Rapid Fire with cherry speed switches, you can get that one for $40 off.
Beautiful. So remember to check out the Newegg Now page for all the best deals, including a ton from all of our guests today. We have Intel Optane SSDs, the Creative Sound Blaster audio gear. I'm really looking forward to checking out some of that kit too, and all the Corsair gear you could ever want.
Right.
Any other deals on that page that you think we should check out?
So many deals.
So many deals.
The
Too many
Netgear
deals?
Arlo home security system that I talk about all the time,
Your
I feel
bestie.
like, on this show, right? Because I love mine so much. And with this system, you can get 6 cameras for $100 off the normal package price. Plus, you'll get a Google Home with your purchase. That's an amazing deal.
Not too shabby. That's pretty
There's
good.
also a Bluetooth speaker system from Rosewill for just $44.99, a 120 gigabyte SSD from Patriot for just $29.99, and a 1 terabyte hard drive from Seagate for just $39.99. Those are some crazy good prices.
Well, again, it's just hilarious. A terabyte hard drive.
NBD.
Here it is, $40.
Yep.
You're good.
That's crazy.
So we're just about out of time for the show today. In fact, we've ran long.
We're long.
Again, anytime you have an audio guest
It
on,
was just a
I'm
fun
gonna-
show all the way around. Really great
I'm
interviews.
gonna
Fun show
nerd
today.
out too. I'm gonna pad that. But yeah, I like the gear days where we get to have lots of props and toys to play with.
Yes.
So it's always a good time.
So speaking of gear,
But speaking of gear,
Yeah.
we we want to hear from you guys. We want to see what you're up to, what you're building. So remember to tweet your photos at us with the Newegg Now hashtag. Tweet at us at Newegg Now, hashtag Newegg Now.
Yes.
No, at Newegg,
Hashtag Newegg Now.
And show off your PC build, show off your gaming station, your lighting, what you're doing with lighting, because
Yeah.
I love stealing good ideas from you guys.
Be
Or
a
if-
part of the show.
be a part of the show, or if you just have like a giant pile of Newegg boxes, we're not. You can bribe us to get on the show if you want us to. We're not that. Yeah, you could do that.
Just
So,
send
yeah.
us pictures of your cool gear, okay? I want to see them.
That's
So
what I said with the
thank you to everyone out there for watching. Thanks very much to Ace from Intel, Ryan from Creative Labs, and James from Corsair for joining us today. We will be back next week talking all about media streaming and making your life cable-free. This has been Newegg Now, and now you know.